Hey everyone, before we get into the video, I want to quickly announce our brand new Academy course we've been working on over on the website. With over 8 hours of content, this course is designed to take you from 0 to 100 in Valorant in terms of what you know. Our Radiant coaches spent the time making these courses that are tailored to one goal in mind, helping you become the best player you can be in the shortest amount of time possible. We streamlined the whole process. So, what are you waiting for? Be sure to check out SkillCapped.com and let's get into the video.
Have you been struggling to climb up the rankings in Valorant? No matter how many times you insta-lock Duelists like people have been telling you, the games just haven't been winnable? Well, what if I told you that Duelists weren't the answer? We hear this a lot where people think they need to play Duelists in order to win games. While this may be true in some circumstances, winning games isn't as simple as just playing a Duelist. In fact, you might find yourself better off doing the opposite. Let's break down what the actual best roles are in Valorant for you to carry and win more games. First, let's discuss the elephant in the room about Duelists. Duelists are some of the best agents for fragging out. This is specifically because they have abilities that allow them to go for individual plays. For example, Jett has incredible mobility. Her dash allows her to either quickly close the gap on an enemy for a kill, or to give herself a free escape route after going for a risky pick. To back that up, she also has her updraft to help her get into high ground off angles to catch enemies off guard. Perfect for playing mind games with the enemy. Then we have hard carrying Duelists like Reyna. Her abilities are all about helping you go for aim duel after aim duel. She has flashes to help her win her duels, and then her heal to constantly get to full HP to go for another duel. And well, if you have her ultimate, you just get to go nuts with her dismiss to get a pick, dip, and then repeat while still having full HP the whole time. These are the two most commonly picked Duelists, but each of the other Duelists in this role have similar abilities to help them get an edge in their duels. Duelists are all about fragging and creating space for you and your team. Now here's where the problem arises. What if you don't have the aim and confidence to take those duels, frag out, and create that space when playing Duelists? If that's the case, then well, you aren't going to do well with playing Duelists. That is the bread and butter with this role. If you aren't able to frag and consistently win those fights, then you aren't going to be contributing much to the team by playing a Duelist. In the higher ranks, we see many Duelists that are confident in their ability to get picks and open up sites. In lower ranks, we find many Duelists that just aren't able to do this at a consistent level. Perhaps you aren't confident enough to take those fights, or you just aren't an aggressive enough player. If those statements relate to you, then you won't be able to carry by playing a Duelist. With that being said, you may be thinking that if you can't frag, then you can't carry. Well, that's not entirely true. You don't need to play Duelists, and you don't need to frag your mind off to win games. I know many of you are confused by this statement, but let me explain by going through the best roles that you can use to carry your games with a higher success rate. One of the best roles that you can use to carry games is controllers. This is one of the most important roles in Valorant. If you've ever tried pushing a site or delaying attackers without a controller, well, all I gotta say is good luck. This is part of the reason why Duelists can be tough to carry with if your teammates aren't fulfilling their other roles. No matter how good you are at fragging, you won't be able to clear out an entire site on your own if there's no smokes. There's simply way too many angles for you to clear out. This is why smokes are so important to deny vision from the enemy and to help your team focus more on a concrete number of angles. Not to mention that playing controllers can be relatively easy once you figure out where you need to smoke out. For example, as Brimstone on the A side of Ascent, you want to be smoking off Heaven and screens. Now that you know to do this, you just repeat it every single round. By smoking off common choke points, you give you and your team less areas to worry about during your pushes. This gives your teammates a better chance of successfully fragging out and taking control of sites and defending sites. By blocking vision, you also delay the enemies and give you and your teammates more time to rotate and position themselves for a site hit or defense. This is the bread and butter of playing controllers. If you time your smokes properly when your team pushes or when the enemy tries to push, you'll be buying a ton of time for your team. This is time that allows you to get the spike planted, or time that allows your team to figure out where the attackers are going. The site can then get stacked prior to the attackers pushing. Now if you're able to properly time your smokes, you'll already be contributing a ton for your team. But that's not even all that controllers have. You also have further area denial and delaying power with other abilities. For example, you can use Omen, who can blind enemies for his team, or with Brimstone and Viper you have Molotovs that can deny a choke point or delay the spike defuse. Astra's abilities with her stars are a bit more unique, but they achieve the same purpose. This is what makes controllers such a powerful yet simple role to carry with. Learn the common choke points that you need to block off, and then focus the rest of your ability usage on further delaying the enemy team. Despite potentially not fragging out yourself, you're making it easier for the rest of your team to frag overall, defend sites, and attack sites. In most situations, that may be all you need to win more rounds. With that being said, the second best role to carry games with is Sentinels. Similarly, Sentinels are all about stalling and delaying. Particularly with agents such as Cypher and Killjoy, the right setup could completely stop enemies in their tracks. Particularly if you're not the best at taking raw aim duels, using abilities such as those from Cypher and Killjoy is perfect to give yourself a slight edge. Abilities don't get you kills, but they can certainly assist you in getting kills. With Cypher, you have his camera and tripwires that can tag enemies and make for an easy peek and kill. With Killjoy, you have her turret to slow enemies down and also her mollies to deal chip damage and further delay a push. Particularly at lower ranks, enemies do not like facing these two Sentinels. In most cases, they'll just end up going to the opposite site. So by just selecting one of these agents, you're already denying the enemy access to an entire site. Now your team can stack more towards the other site, and there's no real win-win situation for the enemy to attack. They either walk into your utility and get slowed and killed, or they go to the other site that has 4 players stacked on it. While talking about Sentinels, let's not forget about Sage though. If Cypher and Killjoy feel a bit too complicated to learn due to setups, then Sage is the right agent for you. You can fulfill practically the same objectives with greater ease on Sage. With Sage's barrier orb, she can block off an entire choke point for 40 seconds. That added with her slow orbs that last 7 seconds each, this gives her a total of 54 seconds of stalling power, which is nearly half an entire round. Now the wall can be broken, we know, but if we place it in the right positions, players won't even find the wall until it's too late. That, or in most cases, enemies are only able to sufficiently break one piece of the wall. This gives room for them to push through the wall, but it's going to be through narrow corridors where they could easily get picked off and killed. That's only talking about 2 of Sage's abilities. Her heal and ultimate are just as useful in helping turn the tide of a round. Her heal can help get an injured player back to full health so they can get into the action more confidently, and well, her ultimate literally gives another life. This can even the numbers game or give your team the edge on a round by having one more player than the enemy has. All of Sage's abilities are impactful and best of all, very easy to use. This makes her one of the best Sentinels to use to carry games, as you can contribute so much to the team without even getting kills. In terms of Sentinels, we highly suggest using Sage, Cypher, and Killjoy. While Chamber is a Sentinel, he doesn't have quite the level of stalling power and informational plays that the other Sentinels have. He essentially has his 2 traps to slow a push, and that's about it. Chamber does also have his teleport, which can help with rotations. However, these features aren't nearly as impactful and easy to use as what the other 3 Sentinels can bring to the table to help you win games. Consider Chamber more of a hybrid between being a duelist and a Sentinel. He has abilities such as Headhunter and Tour de Force to get kills, and his teleport can give him a free escape card during a duel, similar to Jett's Dash and Reyna's Dismiss. From there, his main Sentinel capabilities are really just with his trademarks and ability to rotate quickly. With the other 3 roles discussed, let's go through the initiators. This isn't particularly a good role to use to carry games, as they require a lot of team coordination. For example, to fully take advantage of flashes from Skye and Breach, you need a teammate to push with your flash. You can certainly push with your abilities alone, but it's less effective and takes more time since you have to pull your weapon back out. The same goes for abilities such as Sova's Owl Drone and Recon Bolt. These abilities are best taken advantage of with your teammates. While Owl Drone is in play, your teammates can follow behind it to quickly pick off anyone that the drone tags. Likewise with Recon Bolt, it's easy for a teammate to take advantage of any tagged enemies from the ability versus yourself. This is especially true if you have lineups from far distances. You'll absolutely have to rely on your teammates to utilize the recon. Otherwise, the recon gives you information, but it's information that won't be capitalized on. Because of how much coordination is required to really make an impact with initiators, we don't recommend them to be your primary role you use to carry. The exception is if you have pre-made teammates that will help you make the most of your abilities. That, or you should have good communication to let your teammates know what they should do and when you're about to use an ability. Unless you have those above qualities or know the nooks and crannies of how to play a certain initiator, this isn't the right role to carry with. That's all we have for today's video. We hope this gave you a different perspective for carrying games than the typical advice that's given to play a duelist. Next time you jump into ranked, think about what playstyle fits you the most and what role will best match your style of play. This way you can better carry your games and climb the leaderboard. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel down below to help support us. I'm Dr. Zora, we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.